you're not dreaming. We did just actually finally get a chance to watch Dream Scenario in theaters, and we'll have a review for you in just a second.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I'm a OG boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another iPopcorn for that review. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And we are here today to talk about a brand new movie called Dream Scenario. So this was directed by Kristoffer Borgli, who I haven't seen anything from before. I've heard good things about a movie from last year called Sick of Myself. So I'm interested to see that. I don't think that's an English language film, though, because I believe he's a Norwegian director. But so this is my first time seeing him. This is Nicolas Cage's first entry into A24, I believe, and an unusual little movie. So you want to give us a little bit of what's the background of this movie? What's the plot device here? And we'll get into it, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess the big plot device is Nicolas Cage is just like an ordinary college professor, and then a ton of people start having dreams with him in them, and certain people like recognize him, and he kind of goes on a little radio show, or not radio show, but I guess at news, does a little interview, and like even more people, it seems, start having dreams about him. And yeah, it just gets it's a little strange. It's got a little elements. It's got like a little drama, a little comedy, a little horror. And
yeah, certainly like a really dry sense of humor, though. Like,
yeah,
this is a very, very much like a black comedy.
Yeah, it's got that kind of like, a lot of the comedy is like a little awkward, cringe comedy, but it's still, I liked it.
I wouldn't say this reminds me of any other movie, but there's little shades of things here and there. And I think the thing that's going to get the most comparisons is this feels very Charlie Kaufman in a way. And Nick Cage kind of looks like Charlie Kaufman in this movie. And also, he's been in a Charlie Kaufman movie before. So I don't know if you've seen Adaptation.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could watch these. This would be a good, like, 2 movies to watch in one day.
Right.
Adaptation and Dream Scenario. It's unusual. I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me, but overall, I had a great time with this, and I think Nick Cage is, as always, giving it his all in this performance. But it's like something we haven't quite seen out of him before. Like, he's kind of giving I don't want to say understated, but
he's like a real timid character.
Very
he's
timid,
like shy, reserved person. Usually, you think of Nick Cage, it's like really over the top roles for the most part.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do.
Yeah, he's almost over the top reserved.
Yeah.
He's like extremely averse to confrontation. And this kind of opens with him having to deal with a confrontation with a woman who he believes has sort of stolen his maybe master's thesis or something from like years and years and years, 20 years ago, that it never materialized into anything, and she's publishing it. And it kind of starts with like, everybody's publishing something, and he just wants to be, it's not evident right off the beginning, but like he wants to be noticed so badly. He feels like such a background character. He's so unremarkable, like aggressively unremarkable. And I think he craves something to stick him out. And I think there's a metaphor here about zebras. And I guess what we're supposed to get from that is he wants to, because he asks a question. I guess he's like an evolutionary biology professor.
Yeah.
And he keeps making this point. The zebras get referenced over and over and over again. And he asks, like, would it ever be advantageous from an evolutionary perspective to stick out from the crowd? And I don't remember if anybody answers him or not, but I think we were meant to kind of pause on that for a second and think that's what's happening here, as he's standing up against the crowd.
They do answer him, actually, because they say mating, and that's the...
Oh.
I guess that kind of plays a small role in the movie as well, but yeah.
Yeah. So the way this movie plays out, he is enjoying this fame. And I think one of the best scenes in this is early on, where he realizes he goes from having a classroom full of students that aren't interested in what he has to say at all. He can't get their focus on him at all. To now he's got more students than are even assigned to this class, because he's got this like little fan base forming. And you can tell he kind of relishes asking these kids about the dreams they've had about him. And the scenes that we get of them describing their dreams are some of the things that'll stand out to me, I think, the most going forward about this movie. Just those dream scenes, especially that, like, the earthquake dream.
Yeah, I like that one.
That was really done really cool. The cinematography there was cool. The alligator dream is cool. There's like the guy eating the mushrooms and running from like the creepy tall guy. But the point of all of it is, in all these dreams, he's like doing nothing.
He's
These people are in
super
like
passive.
dire situations. Yeah, he just shows up and is there and isn't helping. And it's starting to, I think, bother him that he's not helping or doing anything. But the problem is he has so little control. He has no control over what's happening here. Like his own fame is completely out of his control in more of a way than you can relate to in real life. And there's probably some like it feels like there's a lot of metaphor buried in here, and I'm not sure all the images are clear to me what they're going for, because there's a lot of things that are hinted at here. There's cancel culture, there's fame and internet fame, and the way internet's played with our collective consciousness, the idea of collective consciousness in general. There's all these things. I kind of think all of them just get kind of touched on, and I'm not sure any of them are even meant to have like answers here. It's more like food for thought.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the company that gets involved in this is called Thoughts. I don't know. But
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Thoughts with a question mark. And so we get a Michael Cera cameo here that was pretty fun. Kind of the most like normal role we've ever seen Michael Cera in, maybe. I don't know. Because he's like so extreme, like extremely one way most of the time when you think of him, and then he's kind of like the extreme opposite on something like This Is the End.
Right, yeah.
Did you ever see Molly's Game?
I don't think so. I know there's a movie that came out recently with him that I want to see, where it's like him and his two siblings. I can't remember. I gotta look it up.
Yeah, I think I heard a little bit about that. But yeah, he plays like a kind of an amped up version of himself as a celebrity in Molly's Game. But this is a different role for him, and really not. I mean, it's played for like humor, but pretty subtle humor.
Yeah.
The only thing for me with this is, as much as it doesn't really take away from it that much. Like as a whole, I had a good time with this, but I will say, I almost think this could have done better as like not a short film, but a shorter than average film. So like maybe like an hour or something like that, because to me it felt like they had this cool idea, they're running with it, things are jiving and everything, and there was a point where I thought you could have ended the movie right here. You could have done what I thought you were going to do there.
Yeah.
And end the movie right there, and that'd be it. And then we're left with questions, and we're left with talking points and things to talk about. But it goes on after that, and everything after that moment, really the whole third act is a little less sure-footed to me. But like once that moment that I hope people will know what I'm talking about here, but once that moment happens that I think would have been a point where you could have ended it, everything after that, it wraps up kind of nicely. I can't kind of decide how I feel about the ending, but that was the only thing after that point that I was really happy with, and I'm not even sure how I feel about that. In the end, though, I left the theater feeling like I had a good time with that, and it's something interesting, and obviously somebody's taking big chances here and doing something unique, and I like that out of this. So my takeaway is positive, but there were a couple things that held me back from like just absolutely loving this and really strongly screaming from the mountaintops to go see this in theaters.
Right. I mean, I'd say it's one you could probably wait to see on streaming, because it's not playing like around a ton of people that it took forever to come out around us. I'm sure it's a wider release now.
But it's not even playing at every theater near me. I mean, it's kind of like the specialty thing. So
I mean, I did enjoy it. Like, I thought the dream sequences were really cool. Like you said, it did go on a little bit. It could have been a little bit shorter, I think.
Kind of felt like we kind of got it, and then it's kind of just spinning its wheels at the end to figure out how to tie this all up in a bow, and I'm not sure a bow ever got tied. It's a little bit like, do you get what we're saying? And then it's like, do you get what we're saying? Do you get it? Do you get what we're saying though? Well, and I'm kind of like, yeah. No, I do, and it's cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're like trying to make, because I feel like they're trying to make you think what is a dream in some situations and what isn't, and like maybe some things you think are real are a dream, because I don't know if you notice it, but there are certain scenes where there's like lamps or lights on the ceiling, and it's like they seem like they're kind of fluctuating in their brightness. Did you notice that, or was that me?
I actually can't say that I did. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. There were moments where, in the moment of it on the screen, I wasn't sure at first if I'm looking at real life or a dream, because they weren't always so stylized that it was obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll know what I'm talking about. Like when things take a turn, and you can tell probably just from the poster, like some of the promotion images from this movie has like Nick Cage's character with the word "loser" spray painted in pink on his vehicle. So you can tell like things aren't all hunky dory all the way through this movie, obviously. So when things like take a turn for the worse, there are things that are happening at the beginning of things taking a turn for the worse where they're not really filling you in on what's happening here for sure. And in the first couple of scenes like that, I was like, is this really happening in real life? And then it becomes obvious eventually that it's a dream.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I could tell pretty clearly the difference between like the real life scenes and the dream scenes.
It was just the thing with the lights, because he'd be talking and they'd have a lamp next to him and a lamp next to his wife, and his lamp was kind of like fluctuating in brightness and hers wasn't. And then there's another scene where he's like staying with a friend in the basement, and the lights kind of doing the same thing down in that basement. And it had to have been real life, but it was just weird how that was a thing.
Yeah, you might have been picking up on something I didn't notice. The other only thing that I can think of that was a little bit, maybe not a con really, but just like there's some people here that you see some like recognizable faces. Tim Meadows is the main one that's coming to mind for me.
Mm.
But like they got Tim Meadows in this movie, and then they kind of don't use him for a whole lot of even the comedy. I don't know. Maybe there was more than I'm remembering, but I just felt like Tim Meadows kind of got underutilized a little bit. Like if you're gonna have Tim Meadows in this, you might as well have something that's like rip roaringly. But the scene for me, and I'm sure you'll know at least what I'm talking about. The scene for me that was really like jarringly, like funny, but also like jarringly awkward. Is like the closest thing I guess this movie gets to like the beginning of a sex scene, or I guess a sex scene. Not really. But that is handled so painfully awkwardly. I could see somebody like not being able to stand watching that part of the movie. It is super awkward. And just the way his interactions with people are painstakingly awkward for sure.
I think that might have been one of my favorite scenes in the movie, though. They definitely had the biggest laugh for me out of the whole movie.
Yeah, that's gonna get the biggest laugh out of everybody, I would say.
Yeah,
and the few people that were in my theater were dying over that. But yeah, just he like nails that social awkwardness and like like having words not come out of your mouth right.
Guess I'll see you in my dreams.
Yeah. Of course not.
And like the way he handles, like I said, like confrontation is pretty funny because he's like, you can tell he's like practicing interactions with people before he accidentally. He has this funny little thing like, about him where he does like
a weird head shake, and he does it a couple of times in the social interactions, but he like practices it.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
So I mean, I mostly I was hoping I would be a little more over the moon for this, but I think at the end of the day, I had a good time with this, and I'd recommend it to people. And it's got like future cult classic written all over it. You know I think so. People are going to go back to this movie and like it a lot. So I hope eventually like more people can get a chance to actually see this. But like we said, it's probably not one. If it doesn't come to a theater near you, you're not really missing anything. Not getting the theatrical experience with it. I think you're okay to catch this whenever it's streaming somewhere. But it does make me interested. I don't know about you, but to see Sick of Myself, to see what he's doing with that.
You know
I think that is a very different movie.
I've almost watched that a couple of times because it's on. I can't remember what it's on, but whenever I'm looking for movies, I've seen it
Hulu
a couple of times. Yeah, maybe Hulu or Amazon. I don't know. And I didn't know it was by him, but now I'm gonna check it out. Another interesting little thing that I didn't know going into this, I saw at the end of the movie, is Ari Aster was a producer on it.
And you know what? It feels like it's got some of Ari Aster's fingerprints on it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not Beau is Afraid or anything like that. But like if you watch Beau is Afraid, and then watch this the next day, you'd be like, these guys have some genetics intertwined here. There's something.
Yeah.
Especially that third act, I was starting to feel like the Ari Aster vibes a little bit, just barely. But when it gets darker, because this does juggle some different tones. Like it goes from darkly comedic to like bordering on horror, and then it'll jump back into comedy, and then at points it's kind of more melodramatic and more serious for a minute, and we're taking things very seriously. So I didn't know what to make of I don't think this is a positive or negative. I guess I have to think about it, but I don't know what to think about his wife's character per se. It's not like she doesn't have a role.
Yeah.
And it's not like the acting was bad or anything like that. She just doesn't. It's almost like her character is meant to be a little unremarkable herself, but like maybe have like aspirations to be a little more remarkable than her. She's a little down on her husband, and really this guy. It feels like in the same way that Beau is Afraid did. It feels a little bit like like they could call this movie Paul Can't Catch a Break.
Yeah.
Because everybody is just dogging on him for things that he really does have no control over. And
yeah, I mean, he kind of gets ostracized and exiled from society, and like that's kind of the not the turning point of the movie, but that's kind of how.
It's like if you made The Hunt a dark comedy.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just can't go anywhere
through
and
like
not
no
be.
fault of his own. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh man, that there was a thing. So like they developed this technology where you wear like a bracelet and you can enter people's dreams.
Hmm.
And it's like after the fact that I guess the shared consciousness is part of this, and they're basically piping people into people's dreams for ads. And if that ever becomes a real thing, I'm done. I'm done.
It felt a little bit like Black Mirror, but played more
Mhm.
for laughs than for serious. But
Yeah.
but yeah, the idea of having somebody, but I almost thought like for me that almost felt like a step, one little tiny step too far in a movie that already
Yeah.
had enough kind of ideas going on in it. Like once they introduced that bracelet, I was like,
And it
okay, I guess
and
if you're gonna go somewhere with it, but
and it like it felt a little unnecessary. I mean, I guess towards the end it makes more sense, but he could. I feel like they could have left that whole part out of other people doing it and maybe just see him focus and figuring out that like maybe he is controlling it a little bit of him being in other people's dreams, because when he's having a bad time in his real life, that's kind of
yeah,
when he becomes more aggressive in people's dreams and everything. So it seems like there is some correlation to his actual mental well-being or emotional state that is.
yeah. But then we do get a scene that I think is a little too spoilery to talk about, but we do get a scene that makes you question everything, where you're like, oh, well, if that's the case, then what does that mean? You know?
Yeah.
But they don't explore that very much. So if you go into this wanting a movie that's gonna wrap everything up nicely and not, this gives you a lot of questions at the end, for better or worse. To some extent, I could see you saying like, I like that this gives you a lot to think about. It doesn't resolve everything nicely, so you have things to have conversations about and think about later. But it just felt like it felt like the movie itself didn't quite know how to end or where to end or why to end. It was
Right.
like we said the thing, and then where do we go from here? But I'm saying all that like it sounds like I'm talking about a movie I like a lot less than this, because I think the performances and the cinematography, the music here is like the soundtrack is off-putting in the right kind of way,
Hmm.
make everything feel odd and not normal. So I think for the most part, it all works together to make something very cool and worthwhile. There's something here. It's not one I would skip. It's
Yeah.
just not. It's not like the strongest recommendation I can give ever. So how would you put a number to that? I don't know. You might feel stronger than me for the positive. What number would you give that?
I'd probably give it like a solid 8. I thought it was a pretty good movie. Good performances all around. Story was entertaining enough. Yeah, it got a little lost in some parts, but
Hmm.
I think it was pretty good.
I think I would have, an 8 is what it felt like it was going to be in the first like 2/3 or so of the movie.
Mm.
I think it by the end of it it came down to like a 7
Yeah.
for me. But I said it like it's so bad. I mean that is still a really good movie that I recommend. I was hoping for, I think there was an 8 in there.
Yeah, it might have had it built up in our heads just seeing so many trailers for it and then like finally getting to see the movie as well.
And even sitting thinking about it before I'd seen the movie itself, it's like I don't know what, I guess that's the job of the movie, but as cool of a concept as it is, I was kind of wondering like, where do you go with that exactly? But I'm sure they'll go somewhere cool with it, and they do. It's just
Yeah.
without belaboring the point over and over again. But yeah, 7 for me, 8 for you, 7.5 average. It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Coming up soon, we're gonna start doing some Christmas movies. We've got some new movies that dropped on Netflix recently. Got May, December, and Leave the World Behind. So some of those things will be coming out very soon. I'm sure. I know we got some plans for Christmas themed movies that we haven't gotten to yet. So we'll have some Christmas stuff out before the end of the year for you guys. But if you like this kind of thing, hit like below. That helps us out quite a bit. Share it with somebody you think might get something out of it. And hit subscribe if you haven't already. We got a new goal now. I don't think I've mentioned yet, but we've surpassed our goal of 100 subscribers. So we're on to 500. So help us get to 500. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Yeah, and we'll see you in the next one, guys. Appreciate you watching.
Thanks. We'll see you.